Friends, welcome to my workplace at Ranaghat, West Bengal, India. This is a hypermature cataract with a very hard nucleus, and in this case I have planned SICS with 7 mm main wound, that is sclerocorneal tunnel of 7 mm. This is 7 mm marking, and now conjunctival peritomy is done with Westcott scissor for this distance between these 2 points at a distance of 7 mm. So the peritomy is done. A small radial cut for better exposure, and now mild wet field cautery is done for hemostasis, and then this is the 7 mm marking again, and now the incision is placed with 50 number Bart Parker blade. At this time going to a little higher magnification, and this is the main incision. This is a mild frown incision, and now this groove should be uniform all around so that I get the anterior wall of same thickness. I get the correct plane, and now I start making the tunnel. The crescent blade is advanced at the central area. I went up to the clear cornea, then sweep backward and to the left. So I am making half of the tunnel from central area to the left side. And now from center I sweep to the right and backward. In this way I make the tunnel on the right side. So this is the sclerocorneal tunnel. The corneal valve is about 1.5 mm. And now this is a side port at 9 o'clock. I inject an air bubble, and underneath this air bubble I inject trypan blue dye. Wait for few seconds, say about 10 seconds, and then wash the dye out. And now visco is injected, and then rhexis is done. The rhexis is being done with the 26 case bend needle itself. In this case, since the nucleus is hard, I am trying to do a large rhexis. And this is an adequate sized rhexis. And now after injecting visco, the tunnel is opened. I go to the anterior extreme of the tunnel and then go downward, and then I cut when I go forward to keep the corneal valve very nice. Now hydrodissection is done. The nucleus is mobilized, and now visco is again injected. Visco means 2% hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose is injected, and then 2 instruments are taken With the help of these two instruments, the nucleus is prolapsed out of the capsular bag in this way. And now visco is injected both in front and behind this lens mass. In this case, I am going to use an irrigating vectis. This is the vectis. It goes behind the lens, and in this case the wound was not adequate for this large hard nucleus, and the nucleus broke in the tunnel, and a piece of this nucleus has been removed. Now I orient this remaining portion of the nucleus in such a way that it can come out at this second attempt, and here it is. The nucleus has come out. But what has happened in this process is the iris has been injured a bit. The iris has been crushed to some extent, and the pupil has become very small. The pupil we have seen was very much adequate, quite nicely dilated pupil at the beginning, but after nucleus delivery, the pupil has become small like this. Now I find it difficult to aspirate the cortex. The iris has become floppy, and I am not able to remove the cortex nicely with this size of the pupil. So I inject visco and then take a B-HEX pupil expander. Take the B-HEX completely into the anterior chamber and tuck the leading flange. Then I go to the left flange and tuck these flange. Yes. After tucking this flange, I find that there is no side port on the left side. So I make a side port, use the B-HEX forceps through this side port to tuck the flange at 10 o'clock. Yes. Now the pupil is adequately dilated, and cortical cleanup will be very nice. I can see the rexis margin also inferiorly, and here I go. I go to 9 o'clock and I find a big piece of cortex here. This would not have been possible to remove without applying this B-HEX forceps. Experts may do it, but you and me may not be able to do it. So this B-HEX pupil expander has facilitated cortical cleanup to a great extent. Moreover, we can see the rexis margin, and we will be able to implant the lens in the capsular bag. When the pupil was small, it would not be possible because we cannot see the rexis margin. Here goes a PMMA 6 mm optic intraocular lens. Let us see if it goes through the B-HEX or not. Yes, it is going through the B-HEX nicely, and the lens has been placed in the capsular bag. I inject some more visco, and then with the help of this B-HEX forceps, I have to remove the B-HEX pupil expander. See how to remove it. After several attempts, I hold this flange. We may have to try 3-4 attempts, and then pull it centrally, and then go above the iris peripherally, and all the phalanges are untucked, and a portion of the B-HEX in front of the main incision is held and it is taken out. And now visco is nicely cleaned with the help of a Simcoe cannula. This is a 23G Simcoe cannula. I am removing visco from anterior chamber, from behind the iris, and from behind the lens, that is from the capsular bag. We can see a hole in the iris at 9 o'clock, probably because of too much struggle in delivering the nucleus. So I always think it as true that we should make an adequate sized wound. In this case, if I had made the wound 7.5 or 8 millimeter, nucleus delivery would have been very smooth, and this B-HEX pupil expander probably would not have been required. An iris injury would not have occurred. So after very nice cortical cleanup, visco cleanup, the side ports are hydrated, and after hydrating the side ports, we have to form the antechamber very nicely. This is formation of anterior chamber, a final lavage, and formation of anterior chamber. Hold the Simcoe at the main wound like this and come out suddenly with an upward thrust. In this case, I used a releasable suture for apposition of the conjunctiva to the limbus. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope this video will help you in managing such situations.